So I've had this old pitcher pump sitting in my living room for years, and it was a project that was given to me. It was missing parts, had some broken parts, and I started working on it I don't know how many years ago, and I blasted everything. I had a friend of mine weld the broken parts. It was broken right here. There's a crack right down through there. Anyway, he welded it on the outside. It was broken across the bottom somewhere that I can't see right now. And it was worn, really, really worn. I mean, this thing had a lot of use. See how that is worn, egg-shaped? And so I put this bushing in, ran that pin in there to take up that space and move the pivot point back to where it used to be. So anyway, engine show was coming up in less than a month, and I thought, you know, my big water pump project, which is one of the full-size water pumps, which is run by a pump jack and probably a Maytag engine, it's probably not going to get done in time. And I noticed this over there in the corner, and I thought, you know, I can probably get that fixed. So anyway, had to make new leathers for it. There is the pump lever that actually goes on the piston. There's a leather down in there. That's the bottom valve. So we are up to the first test. Does it hold water? Because if it doesn't, there is no sense in going any further. Let's see if I can get this to open up. Oh. Well, apparently, I tightened it too tight. I'll be right back. So already we can see it is leaking. Now the question is, where is it leaking from? It looks to me like it's just coming right out of the bottom. So, does that mean the leather is not seating? All right, so we have an issue, and I'm not sure what that issue is. This is why I didn't want to go any further. Let me see what I can find. Okay, well, as I look down in there, I think I might see the problem, or at least I see something to address. The leather is a big enough diameter that it's resting up on the O-ring. So, and as it gets wetter, it's probably going to swell more. So I'm going to pull that out and just trim the diameter, make that leather smaller diameter. See what that does. Okay, trim the leather down. There's actually enough room in there right at the moment that it can move back and forth a little bit if it needs to. Let's see if that helped any at all. Sorry about that, guys. Well, she's still leaking, but let's get some water in there, put some weight on it, see if that gets that leather to form to that seat. It's not leaking as much as it was, that's for sure. Let's see, but she is still leaking. So, I don't know if I need to let this leather soak in the water for a while to soften it up, or if I need to go a different route. The upper part does have a leather, sorry about that, does have a leather seal, but that little disc in the middle is metal on metal, and it's a seat, it's a valve. Okay, so you probably can't see it, but I trimmed the leather down. There's enough room for it to actually move back and forth now. It is still leaking, but you have a foot valve on these pumps, and so what that is like a ball, or the one I'm going to make is going to be a ball, and it's at the very bottom of your pipe. And when you pump, it pulls the water up into here, and then the water comes back down, hits that ball, and it goes down in the bottom of the pipe and seals up against a seat. And so, yes, it is still leaking, but honestly, I think it will work for our purposes as long as I can get the foot valve to seal decent. I mean, we're not raising water 40 feet out of the ground. We're going to raise water maybe 4 feet out of a tub. And it's just for kids to play with at the engine shows. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of it together, and then we'll see if it'll pump. Okay, so the next piece to go in is the plunger, the piston, whatever you want to call it. And it goes with that crook pointed backwards. I don't know if you can hear that rattle. That is the valve. So when it goes down, the valve opens and the water comes up through all those slots. And then it closes, and as you come up, it pulls the water with it past that valve. When it's going down, that valve is supposed to seal so that the water can move up through here. It's a real simple design. They have worked, you know, for 100 years, well over 100 years. So there's basically how that goes. That is a little too far down, but I wanted to see how the leather is sealing in there, and let me tell you, it's sealing pretty damn good, so I'm happy with that. I may have to put some water on top of it to get it to move up. And then the next part that goes on is your top. So it literally just sits on. And so you tighten this up to keep it on. So you can turn this pump from where the handle is at the rear. You can put it one way, you can put it the other way. It just depends on your configuration. And a lot of times these were mounted in the kitchen, you know, in the house. And so that was a universal feature so that you could mount it whatever was convenient for your setup. So that literally just gets tightened down. And when you tighten it down, it sucks up on there. I will tighten it a little better. Let's see if I can get it straight. I will tighten it a little better later off camera. Okay. And then your handle goes in, obviously right there. You put the pin through, and I can't do that while I'm holding this camera, so I will do that real fast. Okay, so we got that bolt installed in the handle, and no, that is not the original bolt from the factory, but it is a period bolt, and it's what it came to me with, and this would have been a fix, you know, a hack back then. And these bolts are iron bolts. So when you go to take something like this apart, if it's stiff and you keep twisting on it, it will feel like it's coming loose. But it's not, it's breaking. Ask me how I know. That's why those are in there. Better to break these off than the casting though. So you may have to put some heat to them, and man, I tried everything to get those off. Rather, you know, cut them than break anything, like I said. So next thing is hook up the handle. See if we can do this one-handed. I knew that beer gut would come in handy, even though I don't drink. So I guess we'll call it a Pepsi bulge. Okay. And then we put the nut on the other side, just so it doesn't fall down in there. I will tighten it slightly, but I will tighten it up later. And there it is. I have to put a pipe nipple up inside, which is kind of going to be a chore because the bottom of the thread is chipped off on one side. But since this is just for show, any pipe I can get up in there and seal it will work. So here in a minute, I'm going to get out the old wash tub, put some water in it, plunk this thing down in there and see if it will pump at least that much. Okay, well, I got her all put together. We got the Whirlpool tub filling up right here. This is the tub, if you've seen the video that I repaired a few days ago for the show. It'd been shot by 22 BB guns. It'd been ran into by the lawnmower. The bottom was separated over there from the sides. And if you want to know what that white stuff is, that's flex steel. We're gonna check and see. I've got it up here on the patio just so we can see leaks. So far, I don't see anything. I think this is gonna be a good addition to the display. But anyway, we're all together. When you have these old pumps, there is a certain sound you wanna listen for if you wanna know if they're probably gonna work. You gotta get them wet. But you remember that time you caught Grandpa snoring in the recliner? That's what you want to hear. See if you can hear it. Yep. If you hear Grandpa snoring, most likely that's going to work. I think we have enough water. So let's set it in there and try it out. Well, here we go. Test number 2. Does it pump? Looky there, we have a winner, boys and girls. I think the kids will get a kick out of this. Now I just have to make the foot valve and the plumbing. Can you imagine doing this every time you wanted water? But at least if it was in the house, you didn't have to go outside 200 feet to where the well was. Man, I'm finally glad that this project come together. I mean, I have nobody to blame but myself. It's sat around for years, literally bare metal. But it's cool to see it work after years and years of sitting. Thanks for watching, guys.